I think we can all agree that the past couple of years have been the toughest in our lifetimes, and this year is not really letting up just yet. I think we can all agree on that. What we've discovered on our journey has been that it's actually helping us to step up and help our clients recover, respond, and reimagine their advertising business in a time where economic insecurity, health and safety concerns have increased, and the keen awareness of inequality and social injustice have become acute. The demand for how brands need to show up for people is getting clearer. What people expect from those brands is getting bolder. We're grateful for our close partnerships with advertisers and agencies and for the research and work that we've done over the past couple of years. So I'm so excited because it culminates in what I'm here to talk to you about today. So the one guiding principle we use and where everything begins is purpose. We found in our research the companies that lead with purpose are more trusted and loved. Key word there, loved. It helps them endure and thrive through tough times because it inspires loyal connections with their employees, their communities, and their customers. Purpose fuels a genuine human connection through shared meaning. It allows us all, whether we have our business or personal hat on, to respond under pressure and in uncertain times with focus, clarity, and authenticity. I think you've heard that word a lot the last couple of days. I know this dovetails nicely with some of the presentations we all sat in on yesterday. So whether that's changing your supply chain to become a customer of a more socially conscious supplier or the creative you design for your advertising, having a clear brand purpose leads to authenticity by design. And authenticity is the #1 brand attribute that leads to trust. So clear brand purpose leads to authentic, trusted brand experiences. So don't wait. Get energized. Find your brand purpose. Know it. Re-examine it. Is it as true today as when it was originally created? The definition of purpose is the reason for which something is done or created or for which something exists. What is your company's purpose? Does it align with what people care about inside your organization and out? Because the world is at an inflection point. It's time for us to get to the very core purpose of a modern corporation and what it means for the world going forward. That's what our world demands of us. Wise words from the CEO of Microsoft. I have all the respect for that man. So to level set with all of you, our mission, our purpose at Microsoft is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And that's why I'm sharing a window in some of this research with you today. That's the very reason we pursued this research in the first place and how we uncovered marketing with purpose. Our research shows values drive value. I'll say that again. Values drive value. What someone values, not just who they are, based on generic demographics, is where shared meaning between a person and brand can begin to co-author together. A trusting relationship that leads to incredible loyalty. First, make your brand values clear. What is your mission on this planet? It really starts there. What is your benevolent brand attribute? Your promises, how do they relate to the product truths? Consider your sustainable business practices, your accessible customer experiences, your inclusive initiatives to bring more equitable customer experiences. Because how you do business is also your marketing. Expressing your brand values at every level is what it'll take to build a trusted connection with people and what they value. That is going to drive growth. So to uncover people's values and identify where you align, you must go deep into understanding diversity. There are many dimensions of what makes us unique. Diversity goes beyond what we can see in appearance, like race or gender. Do you know what your customer believes in? Are you considering people with disabilities? Are you going beyond the usual dimensions of disability and perhaps considering neural diversity? Do you know your customer's cultural influences like language, education, location, nationality? What are their organizational influences? Where do they work? What is their position, tenure, job function? There's an opportunity for a richer conversation. That's all I'm trying to say. Going beyond the obvious dimensions of diversity going to give you more opportunities to connect authentically with people, be relevant, and resonate. So now I'm going to share with you a short video from a show that we have called The Download. And in this one, we interview the marketing director from Crocs. And this is a great example of marketing with purpose and clearly understanding how values drive value.
You're watching The Download. We're speaking with Heidi Cooley, Head of Global Marketing at Crocs. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
Tell me about Crocs.
Crocs makes the shoe that is the ultimate form of self-expression. Many consumers recognize our iconic classic clog around the world.
Who's the Crocs customer?
First and foremost, we call ourselves a very delightfully democratic brand. We have shoes for everyone. That being said, our target consumer is the female millennial, partly because her attributes align to ours. She's fun and she's brave, she's comfortable in her own shoes, and she's unapologetically optimistic.
How did Crocs respond to COVID?
We too closed retail stores all over the world at the onset of the pandemic. But the way Crocs responded was different than a lot of footwear companies. So first and foremost, our strategy is rooted in what we call a consumer-first approach. We are a brand that every single day listens to our fans, whether they're asking for white classics for graduation to prom shoes. We respond to fans one-on-one every day. And at the onset of COVID, fans started reaching out. They were healthcare heroes, they were their family and their friends, and they were telling us that they needed the functional benefits of Crocs. They needed footwear that was easy to clean, easy to put on and off, comfortable. And when fans started reaching out, we knew we were a brand that had to respond.
How has your marketing been impacted?
Yeah, sure. Like every brand, we made incredible adjustments real time. Programs were cut, programs were pushed, programs were moved to next year. That being said, the most important campaign we've probably ever initiated to date was our campaign called Prepare for Healthcare. And that was our response to consumers needing our shoes. So within 5 days of healthcare heroes around the world asking for Crocs, a global team initiated a commitment around giving tens of thousands of pairs a day to healthcare heroes. And we gave away over 45 days, 860,000 pairs of Crocs, valued at over $40 million.
So Heidi, the CMO, goes on to say that their brand momentum has never been stronger around the globe. And they're seeing positive trends from an e-commerce performance perspective and are building incredible goodwill with fans that believe in their vision as a company. So again, matching your values, your business values, with that of your customer. It's a big stat here. From our research, 85% of consumers say they will only consider a brand if they trust a brand. So it's critical in starting, maintaining, and building a relationship with a customer. Yes, sure, there are varying degrees of trust. People still do business with companies they may not trust 100%. Think companies that dominate a market or provide convenience or savings and for whom there's limited competition. People will sometimes make that trade-off, but once they're given an alternative, they flee. I'm going to share a graph, which is the result of our studies on inclusion and trust. We call it the loyalty curve. Big fancy phrase there, where the 3 core building blocks of trust were discovered, surfaced by the data, and where we can see that brand trust and brand love are highly linked. As trust in a brand increases, so does people's expression of love for the brand. The higher the trust rating, the higher respondents gushed. I'll use that word again, gushed over these brands. Our findings uncovered the necessary actions you see here that marketers can take to increase trust, create brand love, and develop customer loyalty. These are the top brand attributes and actions you can take to build growth through trusted customer experiences. These attributes come directly from our research and indexed very high against 3 areas of trust, love, and loyalty. The key is demonstrating responsibility, values, and inclusion. So just a pause here. I'm going to give you a showcase, a high-level view, a lot of the data and research that our teams have done on this topic. However, it's just a glimpse. And so there's a full playbook. I'll have a slide at the end as well with this too. But if you're interested in this topic, it's a good read. It's a free download. And so just a brief pause to let you know that I'm giving you a glimpse into this, but there's a lot more behind this, a lot more of the data and research. So marketing with purpose is the difference between earning a customer for a day and gaining a customer for life. So let's touch on the 3 core building blocks of trust, and let's start with the responsibility. So the role of responsibility, it comes first. Trust isn't static, and businesses have to put long-term strategies in place to maintain trust and inspire customer advocacy. People want the truth. They want the truth. They honestly do, right? Do you want the truth? Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. People want the truth. They want to trust your brand. They want to be respected with their privacy and your transparency as well as accessibility. People want equitable experiences, not just compliance that may or may not get you there. They want incredible experiences with your brands, powerful moments. Focusing on accessibility is responsible marketing and responsible business. So build trusted brand experiences around privacy and transparency. Ensure you base all of your actions on responsible business practices, like knowing what ad platforms you're running on and knowing that these companies have great brand safety measures in place. Responsibility is about doing the right thing, not just what is legally required of you. It's about going above and beyond that, and if you do it, it's going to create growth through trusted brand experiences. You're going to be sick of me saying that by the end of this presentation. Growth through trusted brand experiences. What's the risk of not paying attention to this? Well, if you don't take this seriously, unless you have guardrails in place to protect trust and act responsibility as a brand, once you lose trust, it's very, very hard to recover. And one of my favorite phrases in this presentation, it's one worth writing down when you go back and talk to your colleagues and business decision makers, is trust is gained in drops, but lost in buckets. Or let that one sink in. Trust is gained in drops. It's really hard to gain trust. But when you lose it, man, it is a deluge. So remember that phrase. That's the risk of not paying attention to this. 63% of respondents have stopped purchasing from a brand because they lost trust. And 69% of them would never purchase from the brand again. Now, as we showed in our loyalty curve earlier, it means doing the right thing, being honest with what you're advertising and being true to your brand purpose, looking for those shared values and delivering on those product truths. Now, let's talk about accessibility. Don't tune out. This is definitely important. And I know accessibility is talked about a lot. But why is it important? Equitable access. So accessible marketing is responsible marketing and creating that trusted customer experience. And you guessed it, driving growth. What business does not want to serve more people? It's a very basic, honest question. That's what digital accessibility is all about. Because over 1 billion people live with disabilities in the world, according to the UN and World Health Organization. And when you add up their friends, their family, and anyone that's involved in their lives, that number grows to around 2.3 billion people. And the spending power goes from 3.2 trillion to over 6.9 trillion. And to add to this case for paying attention to building more trusted customer experiences, consider the persona spectrum. So a framework taken from the inclusive design principles. Let me walk you through this. So this is based on the idea that there are people who are living with permanent disabilities, like someone who was born without or lost a limb. There are people who are living with temporary impairment, like someone who had rotator cuff surgery. Okay? There are also those people with situational impairment. Think about a parent with a new baby. You're holding a baby in this arm, you've only got one arm to use, right? That's situational impairment. So I did a little researching about these numbers. These numbers are from the US, but the concept would apply just about anywhere. There are 26,000 people who lose an appendage or are born without one each year, but there are 13 million people who experience an injury to an appendage. And there are 8 million people in the US who have a baby each year, which, again, situationally removes the use of one arm. And there are, 8 million. So when you add all these numbers up, that's around 21 million people. 21 million people who could be reached when a solution designed for permanent disability might help in all of these situations. Build for one, extend to many. Seems like an oversimplification, I know, but it really is that easy. So let's highlight another form of marketing with purpose, and that's expressed in the very product itself. So inclusive product design. Maybe you've heard of this idea, maybe you've not. I'll give you a bit of an introduction. So Tommy Hilfiger launched Tommy Hilfiger Adaptive in 2017. Think magnetic buttons, padded seats and pants for people who sit for long periods of time, say in a wheelchair. Think zippers you can easily use with one hand, or even Velcro closures. In speaking directly with Tommy Hilfiger's team, we found that 80% of customers who purchased both an adaptive and a non-adaptive item in the same purchase were new to the brand. Let that sink in, new to the brand. And when they looked at the consumers who purchased adaptive only during the same time period, the percentage of new customers was even higher. And this data is from their consumer insights data for the first 2 years of adaptive from 2017 to 2019. So that's 2 years worth of data. So underscored, being seen, understood, and served drives growth And you can find that by applying a human-centric, inclusive lens to your business. So where did this innovative idea come from? Where did Tommy Hilfiger come up with this? Well, it's embedded in their purpose, in their mission statement. Make it possible. Such a simple but powerful phrase. So marketing with purpose drives growth through trusted brand experiences. That 80% stat is mind-blowing. I hope the wheels are starting to turn a little bit in your heads here. So let's talk about the role of values, because finding value in those shared values creates growth as well as through trusted brand experiences. Again, I promise you're going to get tired of that phrase. Values drives values means ensuring you understand the values of the people you strive to serve and that you are clear on those brand values. So shift your company from being product-centric to people-centric. And that's going to drive product innovation as well as advertising and marketing innovation. Ensure you go deep into diversity to uncover what is at the core of your customers' values. But first, you must know your brand values to find those common values. So one area to consider is sustainability. And we see the consumer demand for sustainable products as a trend that's been building for quite some time. With issues like global warming, climate change, the concern of pandemics, et cetera, corporate sustainability initiatives are arguably the most important for businesses to convey to their customers. It's gone from a nice to have to a must have. And brands that support sustainability and produce climate-friendly products will prevail. We see data that show that companies with better environmental, social, and governance standards typically record stronger financial performance and beat their benchmarks. And we got that data from Axiom. You can create more personal connections by making sure that what you're selling and the brand you're representing is just right for your customer. Invest in truly understanding people's values and go deep into diversity. So our very first study a couple years ago on these topics, we found that people will buy from brands that stand for something larger than just their products when it aligns to their values. And these stats are huge, right? They were mind-blowing to us. I hope they're mind-blowing to you. We found that 80% of people believe brands should play a role in solving societal problems. 60% of millennials and Gen Z prefer a brand that supports a social cause. And 92% of people say they have a more positive image of a company that supports a social or societal cause. And 88% of people want brands to step up on sustainable lifestyles and help them improve their environmental and social footprint in daily life. Hard to ignore those numbers. The flip side of all of this. So the flip side is when we asked participants in our study about what they actually did as it related to purchasing for brands, they stopped purchasing from a brand because it did not represent their values. And when you couple that with the 80% wanting brands to solve society's problems, along with the rest of the data, you can see how values drive value. And being a wallflower as a brand is not going to cut it. So I want to go back to Microsoft's purpose here, or the purpose and mission. Power every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. The key statement here is every person. So it challenged us as a company to ask the question, are we truly empowering every person? This led to our cultural shift of striving to be ever more inclusive and to focus on the 1 billion people with disabilities and the incredible opportunity to ensure we develop for them. Of course, inclusion means all people, but we did begin with looking at the opportunity to include those who are often excluded from participating in the same way a majority of us do. The fundamental shift in our transformation was going from an inside-out perspective to an outside-in perspective that focuses on people and everything that makes them unique, including values. So let's share tangible examples here. So the idea of an accessible product experience. It's our responsibility as business leaders to seek out how we might be excluding others and solve that and ultimately lead to trust. So with both the Xbox Series X and S, as well as the Xbox Adaptive Controller, and yeah, I know, I'm repping the brand today. Like I said, equal opportunity geek up here. So the Xbox Adaptive Controller is one of those ideas that was born from our purpose. It's inclusive product design at its best, but the team went further. Have you ever experienced accessible packaging, right? Have you ever experienced complete frustration when trying to open product packaging? I think we can all agree with that one, right? So I'm going to play a super quick clip of a gamer who's known as No Hands, No Excuses, who, well, I'll just let him describe it.
Use my knife to cut one piece of tape, and the box just opened. I get packages all the time. Okay, not all the time, but I get a lot of packages, and nobody has ever sent me anything. Nobody has ever sent me anything except Xbox when they sent me the Xbox Adaptive Controller a while back that made me think they thought of me when they designed the bloody box it was wrapped up in. That is how amazingly inclusive I feel that Xbox has been with everything that they have done to make this console, to make gaming literally for everybody.
So it's a powerful statement, and one that I think we can all resonate with, right? I mean, you could see the guy with his arm. I mean, he was able to open the package without using another tool, another device. The package just effectively opened for him at will. It's a thing of beauty. So one of the leaders of Xbox stated, "We're designing a diversity of things so everyone finds a way to participate and finds a sense of belonging." So now we're going to dip into the role of inclusion and inclusive marketing and how it's going to help your brand connect authentically and drive trust. And my stuff kind of broke down up here. If you give me just 1 second. The joys of technology. All right, so we conducted a study on the psychology of inclusion and the effects in advertising. So our research uncovered that brands representing diversity in their ads are more authentic and more trustworthy, no matter what gender or ethnicity we surveyed. The results of our research showed that is genuine and authentic is the top attribute in building trust, brand love, and loyalty with people. And 72% of respondents in our survey stated that they're more likely to support brands that are authentic in their advertising. So trust improves brand and advertising performance. But achieving that status, ensuring people feel seen, heard, and understood so that you come across as genuine and authentic is where purpose is critical. So inclusive advertising done authentically feels like connection and family. It produces the feelings of joy and trust. And in our research, these are the two main underlying feelings. However, joy and trust, there are so many other feelings that make up those two words. And these are feelings of inclusion, not just being included. They're so useful to understand how your brand, your products can play a role in delivering inclusion. Seek to uncover your product truths to make good on these feelings and how you can unlock another way to build a trusted brand experience. So for those taking screenshots, that's a good one. Our research also uncovered that inclusion in advertising drives purchase intent. So for this research, we studied Tommy Hilfiger. I know, mentioning them twice, but they're a good partner of ours because they do a great job of displaying various elements of diversity, but they also have many ads that would not be considered inclusive. They're still great, they're still appealing, but they're not really inclusive, but they're still driving purchase intent. But this is a great selection for the purpose of a study. We asked Gen Z respondents to tell us which were most appealing and which were most inclusive, and we mapped that to purchase intent. When we broke down the performance, the most inclusive ad here earned a 23-point lift in purchase intent. People said that it made the brand feel more genuine and authentic. We also saw in that most inclusive ad that no matter what gender or ethnicity there was an increase in purchase intent after seeing the inclusive ad. I want to note that although the image featured every person in the ad with a disability, that only 10% of those surveyed identified as having one themselves. So I invite you to consider that inclusively advertising not only connects with those represented in the ad, but it also connects with those who share the value of diversity and inclusion. And this will be the duh John statement of the day, right? Words matter, and so do images. But I'm going to dig down a little bit deeper into what exactly I mean by such a simple phrase. So based on remarkable insights to how people perceive inclusion, we discovered ways to signal inclusion using 3 metaphors: connection, openness, and balance. The first idea of connection is of connection or family. Considering the following words as language-based cues in your ad copy, advertising, or content that indicates inclusion by building a sense of connection. Next is openness or open-mindedness. In this metaphor, when a brand can come across as open, this indicates a sense of inclusion. This is the sense that the brand will push boundaries, is open-minded and exploratory, that they do not hold back. And last but not least is balance. So finally balance. And this is where you're ensuring that everyone is represented equally, that no one person stands out as more important than anyone else. So find ways to incorporate any of these 50 words authentically aligned with what you're marketing, and considering how your product, service, or experience can build connections, be open, or be a place for open-mindedness, and that strives for balance. It's another good screenshot slide. So signaling inclusion within images. So we use the same 3 metaphors here of, again, connection, openness, and balance. So it's one thing to just consider or just include diverse individuals, and that may create a sense of being included, but not necessarily a sense of inclusion. So the distinction is subtle, but it's there. Someone might be able to see someone like themselves in the imagery, but this does not necessarily mean that they feel connected. That sense of connection is often triggered by the models in the imagery, either by close proximity or touching, or establishing a relationship visually of some kind, like engaging in some way that feels like they are friends or family, that there's cultural accuracy, that there's diverse representation that is authentic. So connection in images is created by a visible relationship or interaction between people. There's realistic diversity. Openness is expressed by including differently abled people, including larger bodies, including multiple people of color. And balance is everyone is featured with the same prominence. Multiple dimensions of diversity are represented. So the rubber meets the road. So we've got these concepts. We have a rough idea of what we should do, but how do we actually put all this work into action? That's why we're here today. And I know that this is a diverse group of folks here represented in terms of the types of work that you're doing. You know, maybe you're running a website. I think there's a CEO in the room of a company, people doing SEO, digital advertising, you name it. You are all represented in this room, but I would argue that there's a place in every one of your workflows for marketing with purpose. So let's dig into some specific examples. And I'll start with accessibility. As a reminder, over 1 billion people live with disabilities. Their challenges are real and the business opportunity of including them is large. I urge you to audit your website content, SEO activity, advertising, landing pages, all of it. Consider the accessibility needs across that persona spectrum that we talked about earlier. And remember that some disabilities are permanent, others are temporary, and things may just be situational. Now, if you're new to accessibility and web design, and you need some resources to help you audit, there are a number of services out there. There are even agencies now that are fully dedicated to accessible web design. But if you're just looking for a place to start, I would argue that you check out Fluent Design and Accessibility Insights. Disclosure, both of those are Microsoft products, but they're very much geared towards you discovering how can I alter my website, how can I repair my website to make it fully accessible. Let's think about preventing data bias. So think beyond what and who you know. That's really hard to do, right? We all have blinders on. You know, we get so busy, we get blinders on and we're just heads down. But I need you to challenge assumptions. So men make car purchase decisions. Challenge that assumption, right? How males and females arrive at that decision can and does differ, but that doesn't mean men are the only one making those decisions. Only women buy luxury handbags. Challenge that assumption. It could be a boyfriend shopping for a gift, or it could be a non-binary gender-expressing individual buying for a partner. Challenge assumptions. So whether that's gender, age, sexual orientation, geography, or more, understand your customers and how your campaigns include or exclude them. We need to lean into shared values. So we can all agree that interest and behavior varies by age group, of course, but if you consider the values that those generational groups have, there's a lot of information packed into these screenshots here. All I'm trying to say is that there is some overlap of values held by various generations, but the priority order is very different from segment to segment, whether you're going back to baby boomers all the way through the Gen Z, Gen Y. I forget where we're at today. I'm technically a millennial. I'm at the tail end of that group. Don't quite identify with it, but I guess I have to. But just consider that we know certain things about these groups, but the values that they hold come in different priority order. So think about that as we consider those values of our target audience. And further, the work ahead of all of us, is to consider the values of our customers as well as the values of our brands. So once we've landed on the values, we have to ensure that they show up across our websites, within our messaging, and even within our keyword strategy. So a couple of examples here. The first one is give with Bing. So with Microsoft, a big part of Microsoft culture is philanthropy. It's giving back. We know that many of our customers, many of our customers share that value as well. And so we've baked in opportunities to give back throughout our products. And this one example is with Bing. So you can sign up for Give with Bing, and as you're doing searches, instead of earning rewards, which you could be doing for the last several years, right? You could be earning rewards for doing searches. Instead, you're earning rewards that are giving back to organizations of your choice. It was a simple change or simple add-on. I know that I've signed up for it, and I think just in the last 2 months, I've donated like $15, $16 to charities of my choice. So it's an easy win. This next one, so I'm a bit of a musician myself. I only dabble in guitar. I would not consider myself to be a guitar player. I'm more of a piano guy, harmonica, I sing. But regardless, I was curious, what are guitar companies doing today around sustainability? Because if you think about a guitar, it's entirely made out of wood. Every guitar, well, okay, maybe not every guitar. Most guitars, the vast majority, are made out of wood. I started to do the search, sustainable guitar, and then my jaw dropped. In the suggested results, the suggested keywords was sustainable guitar by Martin. And anybody out here familiar with guitars, Martin is a well-respected, well-known guitar manufacturer. Somebody at Martin knows what they're doing, right? They've produced content that's talking about sustainable efforts. They're clearly, as a business, supporting it, right? They're making sustainable guitars. And they've done all the work to make sure that that is represented and it comes through in their SEO. So inclusion should be genuine and authentic. And so this is another opportunity in case you missed the screen grab earlier. So the 3 metaphors, right, of connection, openness, and balance. It is on you to find ways to weave these words into whether it's something as simple as ad copy, or your landing pages and your website, any of your marketing efforts as a whole. So with connection, think of things like diversity, family, trust, belonging. When it comes to openness, think words like warm, included, secure. When it comes to balance, think words like accepted, validated, unique. And consider these words in all of your work. Does your target audience care more about connection? Talk about care and community. Do they care more about balance? Talk about equality and understanding. This is a simple framework that you can use as a basis for brainstorming and creating your own inclusive ideas. Now I'm going to dive a little bit. So I do work for Microsoft Advertising. I've got a search marketing bent to how I think about these sorts of things. And so the next couple of suggestions are very much rooted in the search marketing world. So if you're doing search marketing, you should be, I hope, you're aware of dynamic search ads. So I think dynamic search ads are a very unique opportunity to weave in and understand and even further grow your inclusivity efforts with your search advertising. It starts, though, with understanding what words define purpose for your business. With responsibility, maybe it's trusted, respected, compliant. With values, maybe it's sustainable, minority-owned, gives back. With inclusion, maybe it's accessible or gay-friendly. Whatever those words are, make that list. Now, as you're running your dynamic search ads campaign, you can pull a search query report. Look at all the queries that users typed in that match to your dynamic search ads campaign. I'm going to get real nerdy for a second. How many of you know what an n-gram analysis is? I got a couple of hands. All right, so brief explanation, I guess, is in order. An n-gram analysis, so search queries come in multiple variations. It could be one-word, two-word phrases, three-word phrases, four-word phrases, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What an n-gram analysis does is it'll take a bulk list of all of these search queries and then break it down into how many times one word showed up in an entire list. So if your word is trusted, am I coming up in searches that have trusted in the search query? I can run an n-gram analysis to see how many times trusted shows up in that search query list. That's an n-gram analysis. The sister to that is a bigram analysis where you're looking for word pairs, right? So bigram too. So that's an amazing opportunity to see how your website is matching to search queries, and are you doing your work correctly? Now, the cool thing here is there's an opportunity to say, okay, hey, I'm finding queries that, you know what? I didn't even know I was matching to these words. They're great. I can take them, I can plug them into my standard search campaigns and go target them directly. But furthermore, and I think where the work really, really comes in handy is to say, hey, there are certain words that I want to be matching to, that, you know, based on the work I've done on my website and in my ad copy, et cetera, I should be matching to these search queries. And if I'm not, that's a clue. You've got more work to do. Now, responsive search ads. So responsive search ads are an opportunity for you to plug in 15 headline variations, 4 body copy variations, and then artificial intelligence and machine learning kind of takes over, runs all these different variations through to find the best ad variations possible in real time. Because of the way they operate, I think that they provide a very unique opportunity to test a lot of the language, right? The inclusive language, all of the things that we've talked about today. It's an opportunity to test that in a neat, tidy formation and come out the other end with results saying, this works, this doesn't. We even have inclusion with ad extensions. So on the Microsoft advertising platform specifically, you can add attributes to your account, selecting from 4 attribute categories and 36 total attributes, all of which are shown here. The categories are inclusion, environmental, community and social responsibility, and accessibility. Then, of course, there's inclusion and image choice. So first off, I would say audit your images across your website, your landing pages, and any image-based ad campaigns that you have going. And don't limit your audit to just yourself. Bring in a diverse group of people to ensure that those images are genuine, unique, and representative of your target audience and of your brand values. And then just a shameless plug here. If you're running campaigns on Microsoft Advertising and you don't have images, or at least you don't have the right images, right, that match those values that you're looking to have, we've partnered with Shutterstock, accessed over 300 million images. I guarantee there's an image for you in that pool. It's massive. So marketing with purpose. It drives growth by focusing on 3 core building blocks to trust. We've distilled 5 key steps to help you build more trusted customer experiences. 1, people want the truth and transparency. 2, people want equitable experiences and not just compliance. 3, people want brands to take a stand and not just play it safe. 4, people want positive impact products. And 5, people want inclusion, not just to be included. So as a reminder, one of my favorite phrases, marketing with purpose is the difference between earning a customer for a day and gaining a customer for life. So one more plug. If you're interested in these topics and you would like to read more of the research, and I promise you there's a heap load of more details and data behind all this that I've shared today, it's just microsoftadvertising.com/marketing with purpose. Like I said, it's a free download to take and use at your disclosure. So I saw a lot of photo taking of the screens. I hope that that's a positive sign that there's information that you're going to take back and work with. But in the immediate, I would love to know, what questions do you have for me today? There we go. There was a cool phrase that was supposed to pop up.
We've got these mics ready for anyone that would like to throw a question at John. I've got a couple if we need someone to kick off. Okay, just down there.
Hi, John. Thanks so much for your presentation. I have, I guess it's kind of a sensitive question, but it's like, what if your CEO or the person that you report to thinks that inclusivity and diversity and all these topics is like too political?
Right. Well, one, I think you could take the presentation that was shared yesterday afternoon that dealt with being provocative, right? So being provocative has its many benefits, but I would start with taking this data to that individual and just simply say, hey, there's an opportunity for us to have a voice that's going to tie in with our consumer, and in doing so, win them over. I think you would start there, but I don't know, wherever you have an opportunity to test and prove the data on your own, I think would speak even louder, because it's your data, right? And say, okay, well, we've heard what others are saying. Here's what we're doing today and how it's resonating with our customer. I think that would be another way to prove your point.
Any other questions?
I hear stomachs growling, but don't let that stop you from asking a question.
Hey, John, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Head of evangelism.
Yes.
How does one come to step into a role like that? Like, what was your history prior to that?
Great question. So I've been in the digital advertising, digital marketing industry now for 16 years. It's weird that my career as a teenager, able to drive. I've been with Microsoft for about 5.5 years. I was actually in a learning and development role.
Yep.
Training clients as well as training our sales field. But the role that was this role, the gal that held that role, she and I have known each other in the industry for a very long time. And even in my learning and development role, I still continue to speak and do writing and things like that kind of develop my personal brand. And so when she became a big bad manager on a different team, she's like, hey, John. She's like, I think you'd be a good fit for this role. And so really it came down to, one, having the history in the industry and having the connections in the industry with the speaking circuit and the different publications and things like that, but further just knowing the right people, which I think we can all agree oftentimes your network is your best asset.
Great. And just to that history, like what you mentioned, you started in digital marketing in your teens. What was your first exposure?
So in 2006, I worked for a small self-publishing company. I say small, but they ended up buying all their competitors and became like the biggest. Author Solutions, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with them, formerly known as Author House, doesn't matter. I worked there, and the guy that ran their digital marketing left the company to start an agency. And about a year later, he posted a job listing, and I'm like, I don't know what PPC is, but I'm damn sure I can figure it out. And so I did as much studying as I possibly could. I applied for the job, and so he took a chance on me, given my eagerness to learn and my willingness. And so, man, cut my teeth at that agency. So that was 2006, and we started ppchero.com, which is a pretty popular blog. They spun off their own conference series at this point, HeroConf, and so I was able to build a nice paper trail with blogging online as well.
You started PPC Hero.
I wrote the very first blog post.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's my lone claim to fame.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
only one.
It's very cool. I've got one last question if no one else does. Just based on your laptop there.
Yeah.
Captain America versus Spider-Man versus Wolverine versus Flash. Who wins?
Who wins?
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Wolverine, Flash, and who else? Captain America?
Yeah.
Well, the Flash is getting away, so he may not win, but he could at least get out of the scrap. I mean, honestly, though, dude, that's a tough question. I'm going to have to go with Captain.